Hardware store workers, what is the most I just committed murder purchase you've ever seen? A woman had killed her lover and stuffed the body under the bed until she could dispose it. After she was caught, the police came by to confirm she bought it from us. Wow, this blew up. For more context, this happened in a Jersey Shore town sometime between 2000 and 2007. I tried Googling the details, I remember, but couldn't find an article. I worked at a mom-and-pop hardware store during high school and college. Fascinating place to work. Dealt with people from every conceivable walk of life and some truly quirky regulars. I work for a call center of a farm-type supplies, and I had a guy call and order some buckets, a tarp, and some 5 pairs of gloves, and made sure that these were shipped to his office, not home. Not a murder, but a woman once came into Fleet Farm in the middle of the workday in a very nice business suit. I rung up for her a castrator pliers and 1 single bag of bands. I asked if she wanted to put it on a farm sheet, and she said it wasn't for farm use. Completed her purchase in cash and walked out. It was not spring, when sheep castrating usually happens, and she was what I would call highly agitated. I watched the newspaper for a while after that. I once bought 4 bottles of bleach and a wire brush with no other items. The checkout lady didn't laugh when I said it was hard to get blood out of tile, lol. Contractor bags, hacksaw, shovel, quicklime. I work in Detroit, so we keep them all in the same aisle. A long time ago, my mom worked as a manager at a local Ace hardware store that sold guns and ammo. She had a story of a guy that came in and very urgently wanted to buy a gun, and 1 bullet. She refused him. In my spare time, I'm sometimes a stagehand. Recently, I had to buy plastic tarps, duct tape, and zip ties for a production. I didn't think about how that would look until the obviously very new cashier was like, that's some collection of items you got there. What is a fast food opinion you have, and is a hill that you will die on? McDonald's fries must be eaten within 5 minutes of purchase, or else they transform into sticks of despair. Taco Bell does not cause diarrhea unless you are eating way too much in one sitting. Also, for a lot of people, those beans are the first bean/fiber they've had in a long while. Yellow Wendy's was better in all respects. KFC should sell just chicken skin with the herbs and spices coating. You shouldn't bitch to the cashier about prices. We can't help it and don't care. If you shit your pants from eating Taco Bell, you have a weak stomach. What was the worst lie any US president has ever told which affected America in a negative way? The biggest, 2 of our Navy ships were attacked by the North Vietnamese in the Gulf of Tonkin. I'd argue it's worse that Nixon sabotaged peace talks with the North Vietnamese during his election campaign. There's a lot of recency bias in here. I'm going to say the worst lie is LBJ fabricating a justification for the Vietnam War, Gulf of Tonkin, and proceeding to vastly expand the power of the executive branch to wage war without a declaration from Congress, all while lying to the American public about progress. Everyone focuses on Nixon, but it was LBJ who shattered public trust of our highest office. In August 1964, the U.S. entered the Vietnam War based on reports of an unprovoked attack in the Gulf of Tonkin, which the president knew were false. It is a matter of public record that the United States government created in excess of 500 peace treaties with native tribes. And that same government violated every one of those treaties. For Native American tribes, this was an unmitigated disaster. If we give massive tax cuts to the rich, that money will trickle down to the poor. It's still a central component of American conservatism. Intelligence gathered by this and other governments leaves no doubt that the Iraq regime continues to possess and conceal some of the most lethal weapons ever devised. What is something that is really popular right now but will be ridiculous in 5 years? Hopefully family vlogging. Stop using your kids as props for online clout. Reaction videos, where it's literally just someone pointing and nodding at a video. I really want to say Stanley Cups, but they built their shit solid back in the day. Hopefully, their prices come back down. What's the dumbest thing you've ever heard confidently come out of someone's mouth? Are you trying to imply that I'm stupid? Heard a woman at the zoo say, "That's the biggest frog I've ever seen." It was a quarter-ton giant tortoise. Edit to add, native English speaker, Southern U.S. When her boyfriend paused, looked at her and said, "That's a tortoise," her response was, "Oh." It was a record scratch moment for everyone around her. This court does not have jurisdiction over me because I am a sovereign citizen. I'm going to play devil's avocado. You can't take baths while pregnant because then your belly button is covered and the baby would drown. A guy in my high school I bet that guy is a senator now making laws that affect women's bodies. My once brother-in-law, turning to me and asking me this question in the tone of, "You're the smart one. Confirm this for me real quick. Aren't olives just baby watermelons?" What movie's opening scene is 1010? No, I killed a bus driver. Zombieland has a pretty creative opening title sequence, along with a great opening scene outlining the rules. Raiders of the Lost Ark? If the movie had ended after Indy flies away in the plane, it would still be in the running for one of top 10 action movies of all time. What are idioms where everyone ignores the second part? Great minds think alike, though fools seldom differ. My dad liked to follow it up with, and so do ours. One bad apple. Whenever you hear of people in institutions or organizations doing wrong, they say this. There's been stories about abuse, violence, and racism from the Met Police in the UK, for example, and defenders will describe the perpetrator as just a bad apple. The full idiom is one bad apple spoils the barrel. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, popularized by The Shining, actually has a second line of all play and no work makes Jack a useless toy. Happy as a clam at high tide because they are safe from predators at high tide. There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on." Shame on you. Fool me. You can't get fooled again. I usually hear the proof is in the pudding when it's the proof of the pudding is in the eating, so the proof is in the eating, not the pudding. What is the scariest place you've ever visited? The basement of Danvers State Mental Hospital, long before it was turned into apartments. There was a point where, in every direction that the flashlight could reach, it was just more darkness. More empty darkness. We found a hallway that, as far as the flashlight could go, was cages stacked on top of each other on both sides. My father worked for the Massachusetts Dept of Public Health. He had to do an inspection there, and came home crying about the way people were housed there. Dachau, the original Nazi concentration camp. You can feel the weight of the place. I'm not one to entertain stories of ghosts, spirits, and other woo-woo stuff, but you can feel the death at Dachau. It's an incredibly unsettling experience. The House of Terror in Budapest, former secret police, communist-era dungeon. Now a museum, so not personally scary, but pretty hair-raising when you see what prisoners endured. As in solitary confinement cell the size of a broom closet, no light, window, waste disposal, or room to even sit. A lot of the houses are burned down or abandoned. It's an old mining town that's slowly turning into a ghost town, but a lot of people still live there. I've driven through there out of curiosity. It has a weird, ominous vibe to it. From what I've heard, the police in that tiny town are corrupt, which kind of makes sense. The police headquarters is in an old bank, and while the town is falling apart, the police vehicles are brand new. There's a fire department with a completely burned down house across the street from it. How the heck is that even possible? I used to travel my state frequently for work. I'd end up in these small rural towns and end up working until 8:30 or 9 p.m. most nights. I'd grab a quick bite, then kind of cruise the towns randomly. They were always dead quiet by 9:30. At some point, I started exploring abandoned buildings in these towns because I was so bored. One night, I drive up to this old abandoned hotel. It was some version of the old Holiday Inn Holidome design. If you aren't familiar with the Holidome, it's a 60s or 70s hotel layout that had a pool, mini golf, arcade, etc. inside, with rooms on 2 floors around the perimeter, kind of like an indoor resort. I pried off a plywood board covering the front door and climbed through the broken glass on the other side. As soon as I was in, I was creeped out and felt as if I wasn't alone. Not like teenagers party here, like there's something dangerous here. Listening intently, I didn't hear anything, so I pushed through the lobby towards the inner area. In front of me was the entrance into the dome area, and to the left and right were long hallways of rooms. I pointed my light down both and saw nothing but gloom and the detritus of better days. I stepped into the cavernous common area and was engulfed by darkness and stale, thick air. Very little ambient light penetrated this space, and I felt more vulnerable than I ever have before. I was surprised how intact the space was. As I looked around, it was almost orderly. I made my way to the pool area. The fence surrounding it and the gate were intact, so I jumped over. The slide was still standing and clean, which felt off. The lounge chairs were still neatly arranged. I shined my beam into the empty pool. At the bottom of the pool was something weird and terrifying. There was a bunch of random stuff, not trash, but pots and pans, a pillow, pens, pencils, some dishes and utensils, batteries, etc. Just a mishmash. Here's the thing, though. It was all laid out in an orderly fashion and covered the entire bottom of the shallow end. It was intentional, but not organized. Just rows of perfectly aligned things. Well, I got the heebie-jeebies and decided to GTFO. I vaulted over the fence and stumbled onto the ground. I heard someone fucking laugh. A gibbering giggle that I couldn't see. Now, I'm trying not to panic and run blindly, but I was so fucking scared it felt nearly impossible to keep my cool. I stood and tried to get my bearings in the dark, but this place was huge, and I wasn't exact sure which direction was the exit. As I stood there, shining my light around, I heard a door open and some rustling movement. That was it for me. I sprinted in the exact opposite direction of where I heard the noise. I got lucky, because that was the right direction for the main lobby, where I had entered. As I burst through the entry into the lobby, I saw movement from my right side. A body flew out of the hallway I had passed on my way in. A man wearing shorts only was in front of me now. Between me and my escape, he looked deranged and screamed "motherfucker" and ran at me. I don't know why, but I ran straight at him in response. At the last second, I juked around him like Barry fucky Sanders. I hit that opening to the outside without hesitation. When I looked over my shoulder, I didn't see him following me, but I could hear multiple voices screaming in what sounded like rage. I hightailed to my car and drove back to my hotel. I didn't sleep well, and it was a while until I explored a vacant building again. Well, that's another episode of Ask Reddit in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.